Hi, I'm Bart Kooijmans and welcome to Codeplay. I'm here with Ricardo Joya and I am a senior developer from the Netherlands. I've been into .NET and the Microsoft stack for about 15 years now, and I'd like to talk a lot about the Microsoft stack and teach you and learn with you on how to do stuff and fun stuff with code. Um, do you want to tell something, Ricardo?
Yeah, so I'm Ricardo Joya, as Bart said. I'm actually in Ireland. I'm from Portugal, Lisbon, and I moved to Ireland about 5 years ago. I have about 10 years with .NET development, and I did some PHP and some back in the day. And Yeah, we're going to try to share with you some tips and tricks, and some things that we can do, and hopefully we can also learn from you. Um, so yeah, just take it from here.
Yeah, when I think about code play and I think about fun, the first thing that comes to mind with me is what got me started into programming. So if you have a day-to-day job which is just creating business value for something you don't understand yourself or something, then that may be not the right content for a code play. But in my case, I have a hobby that got out of hand, which I'm very enthusiastic about, and I'd like to share something about that.
It's awesome.
Um, I have uh, kids since 7 years ago. The oldest one is 7 now. I have a three little ones, and what I'd like to do most is go on a day out with them. And so I read magazines, I read newspapers, I read the internet, I collect all places I'd like to go, and this is a map of the Netherlands. I have created maps of almost everything I'd like to go. So this is map of the Netherlands. You can see where there's zoos or campings or museums or anything that's fun related with adults or children. And when I'd like to plan a holiday, this is my simple holiday planner. I go into some area. I select, oh, it's a camping over here that I heard on first hand or second hand, or I don't know why I got this pin, but it ended up on my map of places to visit. And then I see some places, this is a nice cluster of there's a camping. I can go with my caravan, I can do a museum, I can do visit some nice castle with the kids. And then that is how I plan my holidays. And so there's lots of holidays to do at all. And one dream is to once make a camper trip on Europe or something. So then there's lots of pins to
You
visit.
have to start collecting badges when you visit those places.
Yeah, some fun game with this. So recently I was planning something in Ireland. Let me see. Oh, my places, maps, Ireland, my places, maps. Why doesn't it work? Ah, well, we need to skip that then. Back to that's the Ireland, the Netherlands version. And um, when I present this to my family, for I want to go here, I'd like to make a mock-up of where we're going. So this isn't fun at all. It's just a map of my database, to be honest. And I'd like to end up with something like this, which you see in a magazine. It's a map. It shows the pins where we're going. If you do a round trip, it says 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 stops and fun things that can be done over there. And previously, I did this with just paper. I printed the Google Maps and I printed some places to go and I pasted them onto it with actual glue. And now I want to do it digitally. So in my previous companies, I worked at a GIS company, which is with geo information systems, which work with maps a lot. And then I stumbled across the Azure Maps, which is uh, a successor of the Bing Maps. It's a competitor like Google Maps or Apple Maps. Everyone has a Maps division nowadays. And this is a nice website which has lots of code samples with Azure Maps. And I got excited when I just saw these maps. There's also an isochrone, which means that you can make a pin on any place and make an like an oil map of where where you can go in 30 minutes drive. So if you have your hometown and where can I work when within 1 hour's drive, then you can make a map of
Like a
it that
radius.
show a radius. Yeah, it's called an isochrone. It's a very hard word that doesn't mean anything to me, but that's what it's called. Um, and then you can view where can I go within half an hour or 1 hour. So lots of cool features. You can even show the satellite map. So I started with my own Azure Maps, which I created. And well, Azure Maps actually looks like this. It's I think it's the Bing imagery. I think it's very cool how it looks, and I would like to show you how easy it is to create these kinds of maps. So this is an HTML page of just the sample page that I just shown you. The basics of an Azure Maps page is make a div with an ID, just like you do in jQuery or something. And then that div is accompanied with some JavaScript and CSS that's out of the box that you don't need to look into. Then you say on this div, the my map, I want to center it on, let's say something in Ireland. The zoom level, I tweaked a little so that it can be in one view. And you need to give up your subscription key, which I will roll back after this video, of course. And then just like in jQuery, when the map is ready, you can add stuff to it. So if you run this script, which I show you, then you get this as the end result. You get a map, it's centered on some location, it's zoomed at some zoom level, and then you can tweak it, which is fun because I can add a control. So now it's controlless. So there is no control in any corner. If you would like to present people with stuff, you can actually control it with your mouse. You can pan it and you can zoom it with a scroll wheel, but there's no hint on that it is available at all. So let's add a zoom control. And then in this corner, now you have a minus and a plus, which you can zoom explicitly. And a very cool feature is to not show the boring, or maybe not so boring, but to show more exciting satellite images instead of the default images. So now what I did is just say style is satellite. And when I refresh, then the satellite view is in place. So you can see this is Ireland, the North and the Republic of Ireland. There's the big cities is shown. It's basically what I would like to see in a map, where I would like to go, what are the roads. So let's switch back to the actual map style. And now let's do some more interesting stuff. So I created some stops like you saw in the screenshot I shared before, which is the end result of this video. So let's start at Dublin Airport and finish at Dublin Airport. Then we make 4 stops, and I extracted the latitudes and longitudes for this position. Now I would like to make this.
The only thing that it's missing there, I can tell you immediately, it's Cork. You can't come to Ireland and not visit Cork.
But I've done lots of study in this, and actually, I've created some place here. It's Tipperary, and it's on a nice place from Cork. Cork, it's too much out of the way if you would like to visit something on the north. But I definitely would like to visit Cork. So I did some round trip. Of course, you want to visit the west, which is the best part of Ireland if you want to see some good nature points. So this is where we left the previous example, maps control add, the zoom control. And what I would like to do now is add this piece of code, which is I have an array of stops shown above. And for each stop, I'm creating an HTML marker with a color, no text in it. And if you click it, this HTML is shown in the pop-up, just the name of it. I add the marker to the map and an on-click event that just toggles the pop-up. It's all very plain code. That's nothing custom at all. Well, some custom, but not much. If you show this, then you'll see the markers popping up, and you see that I'm going into Cork, but there's lots of places to visit. And this is just the places, but how does in what order are we doing it? So I would like to add some lines in between them such that I can see which is following after another. So first let's remember the positions. So we had a position for each marker, and now I would like to make a line of it. So there's a line string of the array of positions. And if I want to add a line, so the marker was just markers.add, and a line is going into a data source. So we're creating a data source, add it to a map.sources, and then on that data source, we're adding the line string. And then that data source with the line string in it, we render it blue and we make it a stroke of 2 such that it's not too thick and not too thin. Well, let's see how this works out. So now you'll see the pins of the markers of before. There's a line in between of roughly how the road should be going. If you're looking into Azure Maps more, then maybe you could make it pan to
the best
to the
route that
roads.
you can use to the road. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's not into this simple example. And now I would like to do some what's actually to be. What can you do in those neighborhoods? So this is just the title of what's the
Name
city
of the
called.
place.
Yeah. So now in the next example, I would like to add some what's actually to be done in that area. So now I have the actual demo, the full demo, which has the stops. I added some locations. I downloaded some images and extracted some positions for things that could be done. So there's about 20 places to be visited. I even made a type like, is it a castle, or is it a nature type, or is it some fun with the family, which we can use later on. It's a small JSON array. And then this is where we left off. We have the data source with the thick blue line of the and the blue markers of where we're going. So now I'm gonna add this code, which is basically the same as a stop. So for each location, create a marker, and for each marker, create a pop-up. And I'm doing it separately because I need to configure the pop-up. So besides the element, I'm adding an image below the element, and the pop-up is draggable. And then we add that as markers as well. And what I did here is, if it's a nature, family, or castle type, we can show text in it and we can add some color to it such that it's some categorization and has some nice shininess to it. Let's see, when I click on the marker, then the pop-up is toggled. So that's what's configured now. So now you see that the locations are extra shown, and when I click on it, there's a pop-up. In the pop-up is a text and the image underneath. So the blue pins are just text in the pop-up.
Mhm.
These ones show an image as well. And it's draggable, so you can put it anywhere. But if I put it here, I don't know where it went. Was it
Yeah,
this
you
one
don't
or
know
was it
where
this
it
one?
belongs.
So I would like to draw a line between them. And there's a great example of that on GitHub. Loving the open source community. All the demos that I show in the website before are on GitHub. So I can create a leader line, as they call it, from the pop-up to the actual marker that it belonged to. So a leader line is just a polyline that just like the lines between the markers, the blue markers. So there's a data source, and I would like to render it using some color, some stroke width, and even some dashes, such that it is separate from the
Like a
hard
dotted
lines.
line.
Yeah. What I do is create a leader line, and the leader line is created using the position of the marker and the position of the pop-up,
Pop-up.
and just draw a line between that. And that line is going into the data source leader lines, which is rendered. But then if you drag the pop-up, then you need to update that leader line. So that's one as well. When you drag a pop-up, you need to update the leader line. And surprise, surprise, there's an update leader line, which does exactly the same. If you have dragged it, then you should just update the position of where it should be rendered. So when I go here and I refresh, then I have a pop-up. I can move it and there's a line to it. And now I can arrange stuff and see that there's a nice cluster in Tipper area over here. There's not cool stuff to be done. Even something in Cork. And then, yeah, when I do this, I can create my map. It looks very good.
Really cool.
Yeah. My family was very enthusiastic when I've shown this. Let's do this someday after COVID. And
Whenever
yeah.
that is.
Yeah, maybe next year, maybe the year after. I don't know. It's fun to think about the future, but it's you can do this
This
in
is
your
really
own
cool.
country as well. So this, if you arrange it with more finesse than I did, so it will end up as this, which is a great map to be if you go on a car trip, or you can print it out and yeah, you can show them we are now here. These are 5 things to be done over here. What can we do in this neighborhood? And then yeah, I just there's a waterfall, there's a cave, there's a castle. What's not to like for children? And then they they point out where are we going today, and then yeah, that's it. That's
This is great.
how I created a cool Azure map.
It's looking great.
Yeah.
I have to get
So
one
this
of these for me myself.
sorry,
I have to get one of these for myself.
the map
So
or
are
the
you
locations?
this example and then fill with my stuff. Are you going to put this on GitHub or something and share so that people can?
Yeah, just yesterday I created my GitHub account, so I'm just in the process of creating it and uploading it. So I've
We can then
taken
put the
something from the
URL.
open source community, and I'll share it in the comments later.
Yeah, awesome.
All right, that is the end of this video, I guess.